All right, welcome back, and let's go through WordPress and what it has to offer. So before I even get into WordPress, I don't have any outright notes on what a content management system is. I don't have notes, so at least I'm going to just talk through it and the relevance of one and why it's a good skill set to know how to implement slash administrate a content management system. So WordPress is probably the most powerful, sorry, not most powerful, the most popular one, all right? Each one of them has their strengths and weaknesses. You have Joomla, all right? Oh, and by the way, it's WordPress.org. Sheldon allude to it in the chat also, because you have WordPress.com, which follows that. Let me just go to it and show you. It follows that kind of Squarespace kind of development model. So that's .com. You get started, you choose a template, you pay a monthly money, and they limit it to what you can do for each plan, of course. So you see, for $4 a month, you get a few things that you don't get on the free. And as you pay more money, you get more features, which is just the way of the world, right? Up to $25 per month. Cool. So each one has its strengths and weakness, but then this one you don't need to download or anything. You just spend money and they do the rest. So I mean, some people gravitate towards this because they don't have the technical expertise. And also, if this is what you're doing, they limit you in terms of the functionality that you can put on the site. At least I think to get the best experience, if you're used to WordPress open source, to get the closest experience to that, you'd have to be doing the business one. All right. And even then, there's still a lot of limitations in what you can accomplish if you go WordPress.com. All right. As opposed to WordPress.org, which is their open source offering, which they allow you to just download and install. You have all of the source code. If you want to change a button's color, you change a button color at will. If you want to write your own CSS, your own plugins, whatever it is, you can do all of that. People make good money from writing themes and plugins for WordPress, among other ones. So you can probably look into that. You have Joomla, right? I've used Joomla quite a few times, which is another very, very popular one. So I have a number. You have Drupal. You have to sit and list them. All right. So let's say for general purposes, you have WordPress, Joomla, and Drupal. Cool. You have others, but I'm just using those three. So you can look up Drupal. That's DRUPAL. All right. Then you have content management systems for more specified purposes, like you have OpenCart or ZenCart for e-commerce purposes. Right. Similarly, I have this one named, well, not similarly, but similar to you have WordPress.com. You have Shopify.com, which allows you to just pay your money and set up your own e-commerce shop. Whereas you can download plugins and do customizations on the free WordPress, and you get an e-commerce shop, right? You have content management systems for quite a few things, and you'll probably find open source ones quite easily. Most of them are open source. All right. Now, the relevance of a content management system, just in case you don't already know, is it allows you to manage your, well, as the name would suggest, it's a system that allows you to manage your content. Duh. But really and truly, what it does, it takes away, it creates a level of abstraction between the content and the code. So, like for instance, that static HTML website I just experimented with. If I needed to change the title of the page in the index file, I have to now go into the index.html, change the text, make sure I didn't kick out any other HTML code or anything, and then re-upload it, right? What a CMS does, it takes away that need for coding knowledge, oh, and it takes it away from managing the content. So if a client, so anybody comes to you and they say they want a website and they want the ability to maybe blog, or they want the ability to change the content on the website whenever they're ready, then after a call every second, then you can, that WordPress or Joomla or Drupal, all of those are good options to give them a nice, exquisite website. You just give them a little training session to say, hey, this you have to log in into the back office, and then you can administrate your changes from there. Some people don't bother with that. Some people really just, even that part look hard to them. So they would much rather just tell you to do it. And even then, to make it easier on yourself, it's easier to just use a CMS so that when they call you and say, hey, change this sentence, you can just log in, change the sentence without having to worry about code and extensive testing. And it publishes to the internet same time, right? So those are the advantages of using a content management system versus a static website. All right. And I mentioned before that WordPress, all of them are customizable. All of them have their brimming plugins and their themes, and they have marketplaces where people, like I said, they make WordPress themes and then they sell them and then sell support for installation. My coworker, her husband created a plugin for those top three, and I think other sites. His plugin was supposed to condense script files to increase website load time, and it worked for up to 5 seconds for some websites. And I mean, he quit his day job, but that's all he did. So he sold it. So what he didn't make from sales, some people would buy it and not know how to use it. So they would pay him for support or installation, stuff like that. So you guys can think along those lines, how to use these open source things to open up your sources of revenue. I don't know if you see what I did there. All right. So before I even get to the internet, or putting it up on the internet, I want us to look at how we would go about downloading and setting up WordPress, if even on our machine or the local server. All right. So you'd see download WordPress, which is a button you didn't see on WordPress.com. You don't see anything about download. You only see sign up. All right. So once again, this is the open source offering. So once I download, it's going to bring me to this page and make sure that I know what I'm doing. Download again. And then you see that you would have triggered that download. Let's see how fast my internet is. There we go. All right. So you'll see that it's a zip file. One big 6 MB zip file. And in this zip file is a folder which contains a number of, well, a number of things. WordPress looking things. All right. So let us start by setting it up on WAMP. One moment, let me find that folder. All right, so I'm in my www folder. So WordPress is built on PHP. Most of them are built on PHP. Well, all of the ones I've mentioned so far are built in PHP. All right. So if you have WAMP, or if you're a PHP expert, it should be an easy enough transition to just start using these content management systems. Microsoft's most comparable product would be .NET Nuke. Right, that's their most comparable open source website. At least the one I know about. I don't know how much more modern they've gotten since recently, or who has dared to build any other using that. So Yeah. So ultimately, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take this WordPress site, all right, this WordPress folder, sorry, and drag it over into my WAMP folder, which we should know by now. If we create a folder, we're just creating a WordPress. Okay, so Sheldon is saying is read DNN.NET Nuke is doing the thing. So we downloaded a 6 MB file, but it unzipped to a 25 MB file. All right. So if I browse to that, I want to remember what my local host. All right, local host slash, was it WordPress? That means it's not 81. Oh, my bad. I'm not even running WAMP. There, I try browse. I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, give me a few while WAMP loads up. This might take a bit. All right. All right. Good. So now let's get started. So please hold. Yeah. So let's go through. So we see here that we have to go through some setup. Right? Some amount of configuration has to occur before we can just jump onto the site. So we click continue, and it's fairly straightforward. They tell you what you need to do. So before getting started, they need the database information. They need the name, the username, password, host, and if you want a table prefix, which is a good security measure to kind of abstract your database from would-be hackers, all right? Or at least your data tables. So database name. So I don't have any database created. So let me just go to my PHP, my admin. And you all are seeing that I don't have any password, just root. Doesn't really matter. It's my local machine. So, all right. So I'm going to start. I'm going to go to new, create a new database. I'm just going to call it WordPress. All right. Create. All right. Now note, I'm not going to put in any tables or anything like that. So I go back over here. So the database is there. All right, WordPress. So the database name that's there, WordPress, I'll just leave that. If you remember, my username was root. There was no password. And I can leave that as local host. All right. So, I mean, generally speaking, the web host is going to tell you. So, and I believe it would have been that um yeah, that information would have been provided in the settings. All right, more than likely that's it. What? Where does triple web host put that? In general, they give you that information, or it may be so managed database, they give you that information. Right. So if I created a new web database, all right, when we get to that step. Anyhow, for the purpose of putting it on WAMP, the database host is localhost. So I know it may be contradictory considering that I have to put on a port to get localhost on WAMP, but I spent hours with the port on it wondering why it wasn't working until I just said, let me try localhost, and then it went through. So it's localhost, and the table prefix, you can change that from WP underscore. But once again, this is a good security measure because then your users tables isn't users, it's WP underscore users. And then if you're using WordPress, a would-be hacker would figure, if he can discover that you're using WordPress, he would figure that it's WP underscore users. So as a further security measure, you can just use something like your initials, right? Just to throw him off the scent, him or her, sorry. All right, so when you click submit, they'll verify that everything is okay. If something was not okay, then it would kind of advise you that something was wrong. All right, and then when you run the installation, if I go back to the database and refresh, oh no, that's not started yet. Sorry. All right, so site title, web admin dash WordPress. All right. I just use some simple stuff. Of course, that is never a good idea, right? So even they have to make me confirm just to make sure it says me doing this foolishness. But that's never a good idea. The stronger the password, the better, evidently. My email is test.test.com. And I don't want to discourage. I don't need to do that. So I can install WordPress. Then this may take a while. Oh, wow. And then if I go back now, I'll see that this database is now populated with a bunch of tables. And you notice that TW underscore for the abstraction, so TW underscore users, right? So now I can log in and admin. All right, so this is what the backend of WordPress looks like. All right. So you see, they give you the home, they allow you to customize, and you can always browse. So I can visit the site, which is just going to load the WordPress site out of the folder, right? And like always, if I go to this folder and look in there, I see an index, right? Even though the content of it may not be representative of what we know should be in an index file. Okay, all right, because I'm looking in this and all I'm seeing is this. I mean, this does not tell me it's loading anything, but if I remove index.php, nothing will ever be loaded, right? It's pulling some orchestration somewhere, right? So pretty much that's how you go about configuring WordPress. In terms of customizations, you can always customize. They give you, I think, about 6 themes out of the box, right? So you click customize, they give you almost like a live website editor. You can put on your CSS if you want. Change your menu, right? All right, so Sheldon is giving us some insight that it's just loading a required file in. So yeah, exactly, it's just orchestrating some action that is now going to feed up content. So Ramon is asking if it is best to use WAMP with WordPress. He sent me that privately, so I don't know if I should have loaded him up that way a while ago, or if he didn't realize he sent it privately. But either way, um, there's no best for me. There's no best. At least in the context of using WordPress, there is no best. Right? From his PHP and it compatible, use it. So in my experience, I haven't seen where either or any Apache server, because they're all Apache anyway, works better. The only problem would be versioning. And I mean, maybe you have to tweak one or two things on any one of the bootstrappers based on its preset configurations. But I wouldn't say that it's best to use WAMP. If you have XAMPP, if you have which other one, MAMP. I'm sure Sheldon has MAMP, unless um he doesn't really care. Then all right, yeah, you strike me as the one who would go and configure Apache everything by yourself from scratch. And for the for the use of this course, I have no stipulations as to any of them that you should use or shouldn't use. Whichever one works on your computer and you feel comfortable with, once you get the job done, you're good. All right. So, cancel. So let me just go back to this. So you can actually choose between the themes. I think each year, when they release a new version for the year, they drop a new theme. So when I first discovered WordPress and started playing around with it, it was what, 2013. So the theme name was literally 2013. So I have 2016, 2015, 2017. So more than likely they're going to drop a new one this year, and the new theme is going to be 2018, etc., etc. WordPress is very good for blogging purposes. So if anybody comes here and they want a blog, WordPress is a good go-to. But when I go over to WordPress.org themes, you see that they have quite a few themes. So they're not limiting you to just a blogging site. You can have a newspaper looking site. You have, I mean, and at the end of the day, all of them can be customized. So if you like this one, but you really wanted it for a CarMart site, you install it, right? And then you just change out the pictures and you have a CarMart site. But then there are further things you can do to it. And while it's setting up the preview and downloading. While there are further things you can do to it, there may be some number of limitations based on what you want to do. Like for instance, you set up a CarMart site, or at least the face of it looks like a CarMart site. But WordPress itself is not going to give you a mechanism to actually manage cars or add cars and have like an inventory system on it. It gives you the facility to do it, but it in itself is a shell. It doesn't have that. Cool. So it's almost like Pimp Married. I don't know if you guys used to watch that with Exhibit back in the day, when you have some people with some old shell, some old jalopy, right? And then Exhibit would take these jalopies, take it by surprise the person, and put in all sorts of things, put on them chrome rims and the TV in the headrest and a satellite dish in a bonnet, all sort of foolishness. Right? The fact is that WordPress would be like that shell. WordPress comes, it can drive, yes, but it's not quite ready, not quite road ready. So based on what you need it to do, you can find plugins, you can find even themes. Nowadays, they just sell the theme with all the functionality and all the requisite plugins bootstrapped into the theme installation, right? So a good place to find those legally, right, is themeforest.com. So you can just go to themeforest WordPress. All right. Once again, a good place to find them legally is here. Cool. I'll say no more. So, I mean, based on what you want, you can find real estate skins, right? You can find, oh, hold on, let me say all categories. Let me say WordPress, sorry. All right, so you can find entertainment, you can find wedding. So based on your client, you can just come and find the theme. And then further to that, I mean, yes, you have to buy it. But if you're business minded, if your client wants something and they're paying good enough money, then the cost for you to build from scratch to deliver and the cost and effort could be greatly reduced if you just get one of these, right? And then change two colors. So you buy it for $49 and you change two colors, and yeah, them love it, yeah, they love it, or they don't like it, they don't like the color you change the other color, and then you charge them $1,000. Just giving you an example. So you'd have spent $60 and let's say $200 worth of time to get back maybe 4 times that money, right? As opposed to, oh yes, man, US. I'm not talking Jamaican dollars, man. Right. But I mean, it goes for much more money than that. So I don't even want you guys to quote that as any I don't think you guys to quote that $1,000 as any industry standard, because WordPress sites properly done once can go for much more money than that. All right. No, it's not. All right. So don't limit it to that. Of course, pick your battles wisely, because you wouldn't go to a church and charge them 3,000 US for a website. Cool. But if VMBS approaches you tomorrow and say, hey, I need a website, well, I mean, you have to know you can come good, and then the better you deliver is the more money you can charge, right? So, I mean, you pick your battles, you mix and match your pricing. It's good to understand their needs and what effort will be required, because sometimes you end up building it from scratch, and when you do that, then clearly you're going to have to charge more money than if you use a CMS. And even then, I'm not going to tell you that if you use a CMS, you should charge less money, because at the end of the day, the end user may never know that it's a CMS versus something that you build from scratch. The point is they want a website where they can sell their clothes and their shoes. So you give them that and you tell them how much that costs. You understand? So I want you guys to think like that when you're looking at these ways to make money. Man, like Sheldon and Yannick, I know probably lock off the whole of Mandeville with clientele already. But I mean, if you do your thing, then people will look to you at all as an alternative. And even then, I always say that as Jamaicans, we have a good advantage against US developers. Not necessarily that we're better or that they're better than us, but we can always underbid them comfortably. All right. Not selling yourself short now, but the US developer is going to charge $30 per hour to do a WordPress site. You can come and charge $20 per hour to do the same WordPress site, and you would probably end up looking like the more attractive option if the person isn't classist slash racist. Right. So I mean there are a number of little factors to take to consider and so on in doing this thing, but ultimately there is a way. Right? There's a way you can do it. So I want you guys to experiment with that. Download WordPress from .org, set it up on your machine, download the themes, see how it looks, see how the database looks, right? Have an appreciation for the tables and what gets generated. And if you feel boomy enough, what I want you to do is put WordPress up on this host without using the WordPress this. Don't use that. Find a way to download whatever it is you downloaded and you set up on your local host and you experiment and you customize. Migrate that to your web host, right? Without using the site builder. So that is what I want you guys to do. All right. Boy, at this rate with the class, we'll probably be finished in a good enough time that you guys get a whole month to work on your final project. But ultimately, that final project, you guys can start looking at it from now. It's a group work, and you're basically proposing a new website to a company. All right, so you are a development company and you're proposing to build a website for somebody. I want that full paperwork, like if money was in it. So by the time you finish writing this proposal, you should be able to just change the name in the document and send to somebody and say, hey, this is why you need me to build your website. And then you guys will build it. We need to look at SEO techniques and of course social media integrations, how those things work. Do you mean sis or sir? Yeah, what's I think yeah, store. Well, I put it in the document. I can't remember if storyboarding was in it, but I mean, the more details, the better. The more your grade will be ultimately. So, you guys can start doing that, and if anything, just send me a list of the groups with the members beforehand. So send me a list with all the names of the group. And by the way, just so you know, I tell all my classes this, that any money you make using techniques that I have taught you, I reserve the rights to get 60% of the revenue. So I get 60%, the other 40 can share between, all right? Don't harm me. I didn't stutter, okay? Unless it's Ramon you're hiring. All right, so 60% of our revenue belongs to me. Take it from the school fee, All right, guys. So we can call it a night. We can call it a night. So I hope you guys are leaving a bit more empowered after this session and feeling confident, ready to explore. Um, so take care. Download WordPress, download Joomla, download Drupal, see how all of them work. And see which one you feel most comfortable with. I feel most comfortable with WordPress, but I've had to use Joomla and I've had to use Drupal. So flexibility is always good. All right. So this Mr. Reese, yeah, I will not condone. I will not condone this. I said 60%. You see me don't talk? You see me don't talk? It's not time yet. You still have 2.5 minutes. All right. Anyhow, and all of this is being recorded. Let me stop